And we're back. This is Hook and Ladder, week 13. And what an exciting week it was. When the week started, I didn't think it was amount to any damn thing. But the football gods, they play tricks on us sometimes.
We were doing this show last week and looking at this weekend's slate. And not too many games are jumping off the page at us that could be decent games. You had some rivalry games, but the Indiana-Ohio State was the big marquee game of the week. And I think everybody who pays attention to college football probably could see how that was probably going to end up going. But man, we were wrong. This was a crazy week. Yes. And we'll get to some of the things we were just talking about here in a minute, but definitely crazy week.
Yeah, no, a lot of teams' seasons came to a premature end. Let's get started. Well, Georgia Tech knocked off NC State 30-29. Kind of a mistake-filled game.
Yeah, I was watching this game, and Georgia Tech didn't look good. NC State was holding their rushing attack. I think there was a pick six. Georgia Tech got the football. It was a pick six. Mm-hmm. Then they had an interception. They returned it all the way down to the 2 or 3 yard line and punched it in. I think Georgia Tech didn't have a very good offensive day, but their defense bailed them out. I thought Georgia Tech was going to roll, and it was much closer than it should have been, in my opinion.
They were overlooking NC State for next week.
Yeah, next week they're playing Georgia, and that's Georgia Tech's Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. The coach, Brett Key, has made it a point to beat Georgia, whether he will or not. Who knows? But he's definitely going all out, and you can kind of tell they were just kind of lackluster performance.
Moving right along. UNLV knocked off San Jose State 27-16. Watch any of this one?
No, I was watching this Michigan State-Purdue game. Mm-hmm. Michigan State pretty much had him let Purdue kind of get back in. I forgot that Hudson Card was playing for Purdue. I mean, the guy he was a highly ranked recruit. He threw for 342, looked good. They didn't look like a great football team. They're 1-9 for a reason. Like 1-10 now. And I feel bad. There's some good players on that team. I like the coach. It's just, they're going to need the portal. So, yeah. I mean, they got a lot of guys in the portal already. They got a couple of guys from Georgia. I think they got a dude from Alabama. But they're going to need a lot of help in the portal. Yeah.
Moving right along. Indiana took on Ohio State at the high noon game. Number 5 against number 2. Ohio State dominated 38-15. Wasn't much of a game.
Yeah, didn't watch this because we were at the game. Kickoff was about the same time. But I kind of saw how this was going to play out. I really thought it was going to be about this score, 38-15. I thought Indiana might hang around for a quarter and a half. But by the second half, Ohio State's talent and depth would overtake them. And that's not really what happened. I mean, Indiana scored first, but then Ohio State took it to them. Yeah. And there was a lot of on the sideline antics with the whole Google. Will Howard, did the cigarette thing, Google it. Indiana's probably still going to make the playoff. And I think, that's crap. They haven't had a good schedule. I mean, granted, it's not their fault. We've said it before. You play the teams on your schedule. It's not your fault that your schedule sucks. Penn State's in the same boat. They're going to finish the season 11-1 most likely, although they did struggle a good bit with Minnesota. These teams, all these teams aren't created equal. You get, 3-loss Alabama, which we'll get to, 3-loss Ole Miss, which we'll get to. These teams are still better than everybody in the Big Ten minus Ohio State and Oregon.
That's right.
But you got a great record, 1 loss, you're going to make the playoffs, and you're probably going to get spanked in the first round.
Hats off.
That's what it is.
That's right.
You can say you made the first ever 12-team college football playoff.
And, considering where they're at this time last year, do you think they were thinking they were going to be making a opportunity?
Exactly.
So, things work out. Texas took on Kentucky. Texas knocked them off 31-14. Kind of a ho-hum performance, actually.
Yeah, and Kentucky, I thought they were going to be better. They've got a solid defensive line. They had one of the best defensive linemen in the country decide to stick around and not enter the portal. A lot of teams wanted this kid. He got paid, stuck around. They got Brock Vandegrift. I expected a lot more from Brock Vandegrift. He's been a big disappointment so far this season. I don't know if his eligibility is up or not. Maybe got one more year, but he might improve next year if he sticks around. But they're just a bad football team. Yeah.
How about Minnesota giving Penn State all they wanted? 26-25, Penn State beats Minnesota.
You got to hand it to Franklin. He has made a gutsy call on the 4th down, fake punt. But, I was pulling from the lose. I think they're a pretender. I don't think they have any business being amongst. I mean, they're not a bad football team, and they're going to get into the playoff. I don't think they should be in the playoff.
Well, you think they're top 12 team in the country?
No.
No? Okay. Moving right along, Notre Dame knocked off Army 49-14.
Notre Dame's ranked 6th in the country. Yeah. I kind of feel that's pretty much where they belong. They haven't played the gauntlet. Nobody's played the gauntlet the SEC has. Right. So let's just quit talking about that, though. Notre Dame looks good. Yeah. How did this team lose to Northern Illinois? I have no idea, but they look good. They're beating people up on the lines of scrimmage, offensively and defensively. They're running the ball well. Riley Leonard's playing well. I never actually thought he would be the guy that was like the savior, last year. They got transferred. What was it? Kids from Wake Forest. Was it Sam? Was it Sam something or other?
Yeah.
The beard and the long
Wake
dark
Forest
hair.
kid, isn't it?
Yeah, played Wake Forest. But I thought he was going to be the answer. He was an excellent quarterback. He really wasn't. They get Riley Leonard. I didn't think he was going to be the answer, and he seems to be the answer. So they're playing well. Easily will make the 12-team playoff, even though they really need to be in a conference and have a conference championship game.
Shocker of the night. Oklahoma knocked off Alabama 24-3. What can you say about this game?
Got home in time to watch most of this game. Alabama, they're a really good football team. I mean, this is crazy because one week they'll play phenomenal, and then the next week they'll play like garbage. And sometimes they win those games that they play like garbage. Yeah. They weren't winning this game. Milroe was bad. They didn't run him like they've been. When they win and they're playing well is when they're running Milroe. Mm-hmm. When his legs are a threat, and they just you got a guy like Ryan Williams, kid. You got to throw the football. I mean, he had a touchdown. Horrible call to overturn it. Really, really bad call. Easily one of the worst calls all season long. Yeah. And that really screwed him. Took the momentum away. But he played bad. They just kept. I mean, I've never seen a guy throw interceptions like that. Just those little wide receiver screens, just throwing right to the guy. Defense kind of did enough, I thought. But the offense just completely let them down. And this is a third loss of the season. They're pretty much done. Yeah. They're not going to make the SEC championship game, which, as at the time last week, they were the odds-on favorite to be in the SEC championship game. First year under Kalen DeBoer, making the SEC title game. Third loss of the season, they're out. And I'm going to say it shouldn't be. He's a first-year coach. He's a good coach. He's a good recruiter. He's a good offensive mind. When he gets his guys in the system, when he gets a guy that he wants at QB, they're going to be good. But I will say that because it's Alabama, their fans are freaking crazy. Yeah. Dude's seat's warming up. I'm not saying it's hot. It's getting warm. Yeah. 3 losses. I can't remember the last time Alabama had 3 losses in a season.
I mean, and those losses have been bad losses.
Yes.
I mean, that 24-3 against Oklahoma is unacceptable.
And they lost to Vandy. So they lost to 2 unranked teams. Yep. So that's a killer right there.
That's right. Miami knocked off Wake Forest 42-14. Did you see any of this?
I saw the highlights of this game. Yeah. They did what they were supposed to do. The number 8 team in the country is supposed to beat a team like Wake Forest 42-14. Yeah. And they're basically, they've got to win next week. Who would they play next week? So they basically got to win to make the championship game. Yeah. Clemson needs Miami to lose, and Clemson's in against SMU, which we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Moving right along, Lane Kiffin. He seems to choke when he's in the driver's seat to do something. And now, Ole Miss got beat by Florida yesterday. Florida's
playing excellent under Billy Napier ever since, I guess 2 weeks prior to them giving him, the vote of confidence. They're going to keep him around one more year. They lost 2 games. They played really tough games. Then they lost to Georgia, but they played Georgia tough. Lagway went down with an injury. That game could have been a little bit closer had he stayed. Yeah. They play Texas and get absolutely blown out of the water, but they fought late in the game. They scored some points. Then they just win against LSU, and then they beat Ole Miss. 2 top 10 or ranked opponents that they win that they beat.
And they're bowl eligible.
They're bowl eligible, which nobody really thought they were going to be. They're still going to play Florida State and probably win that game. Yep. Huge rivalry game for Florida. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how bad Florida State is. That's a team. If you're a Florida fan, you want to win that game. So kudos to Billy Napier. Lane Kiffin. We thought he had conquered the problem of not being able to win the big one. I really wouldn't call this a big game, but they definitely shit the bed. Jackson Dart threw for 323 yards, but they turned the ball over 3 times inside the red zone. I think one interception, and then stopped on 4th down twice. Yeah. Florida's defense isn't a juggernaut of a defense, but they stopped them. Yeah. And you got to give credit where credit is due. Florida basically ended Ole Miss's season. Yep. They're going to go to the Egg Bowl next week, and they should easily win that game. But how many of these guys are going to bail before they even get to do the bowl game?
Well, how long is Lane Kiffin going to be at Ole Miss?
That's another one. Yep. This was the year that they put it all on the table. They got smoked by Georgia last year. He went to his AD, he went to his president, he went to boosters, and this is what I need to win to beat a team like Georgia. And they got it. Can they do it again? Is he going to stick around? I guess we'll figure it out.
2 weeks ago, they slayed the dragon. And what they do, they let Florida come to town, or they went to Gainesville.
Florida and on a noon kickoff on the road in the SEC. Can sometimes be hard. I mean, the remaining schedule was 2 unranked teams, one of the worst teams in the SEC in Mississippi State next week in the Egg Bowl. These guys were going to the playoffs. All they had to do was beat Florida, and they couldn't do it.
Yep. And they could, and they're arguably one of the better teams in the country. Moving right along.
Yeah, I still think they are. A 3-loss Ole Miss team. Yeah. I still think they're better, like we said earlier, than anybody in the Big Ten minus Oregon and Ohio State.
Yep. Moving right along, Georgia knocked off Massachusetts 59-21. Kind of a lackluster performance for the Georgia defense.
Yeah, it did look. That first half, it didn't look good. No. But second half, they shut them down for the most part. Everybody for Georgia got involved. I think there were 12 different guys catching passes. Beck threw for 297 and 4 touchdowns. Nate Frazier went through for 3 touchdowns, over 100. Offense looked good. Yeah. It was in rhythm. It was humming along. No issues there. They did have a couple injuries. And as we'll talk about in a little minute, they're gonna need some of those guys when they didn't think they were gonna need them right away.
That's right.
But they knocked off unranked Mass, who has played like 4 SEC teams this year. Yeah. UMass has, I think they're 2-9. Not a good football team. They fired their coach earlier in the week, but Georgia needed to do that at home, get some young guys in the game. They've got a lot of injuries. They're one of the most beat up teams in the country. They did a good job yesterday of getting guys game experience going forward.
That's right.
They might need those guys in the playoffs.
Yep. Tennessee knocked off UTEP 56-0.
I didn't see any of this game, but Tennessee does this to teams like UTEP, and then they kind of have problems with good teams.
That's right. Boise State knocked off Wyoming 17-13.
Really close, but JT went for over 100, had a touchdown. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough, though, because Travis Hunter went bananas yesterday. But BYU is right in the thick of things. SMU beat Virginia. SMU is going to the ACC championship game.
Yep. And speaking of teams that are choking, BYU lost to Arizona State 28-23.
On a crazy ending. Yeah. They stormed the field only to find out, hey, there's 1 second left on the clock. Yeah. All you multiple thousands of fans get off the field. We're going to do a last 1 second left Hail Mary and then storm the field a second time. Yeah. Pretty cool. The whole, wheel of destiny with the Big 12, it's basically the same thing. It's like whoever wants to win that conference, nobody's really trying because BYU had their chance. Colorado, which we'll talk about in a minute, they were in the driver's seat, controlled their own destiny. They couldn't get it done. So who knows how that conference is going to shake out.
There's no telling. A thriller at Jordan-Hare. It seems like it's a recurring theme down there.
Yes.
So 4 overtimes. Auburn wins 43-41. A&M had everything in front of them. They got Texas next week and
easy shot to playoffs. They were only a 2-loss team, and it would have all been on the line for Texas, and they, crapped the bed. They've got a lot of injuries, so they're beat up as well. Didn't expect this from Auburn, but every year they're gonna pick one team. They're gonna give them a fight to the death. Yeah. Jordan-Hare, Nick Saban said on game day, that place is haunted. Just all the weird crap that's happened there over the years, wins and losses. But I watched most of this game as well. Really good game, competitive. Both teams were battling. Those overtimes were crazy. And the dude dropped the pass in the end zone. I mean, that would have sent it to a 5th overtime. Yeah. So I kind of feel for the kid. That was a great play call. Just hit him right in the hand. There was nobody really near him. And right in the hands, dropped it in the end zone. So A&M's done for the most part. That's 3 losses for them.
They got to win.
They can still go to the SEC championship game because it's only 2 conference losses, so it's basically they got to beat Texas next week.
Technically, they win the SEC. They're in. If they beat Texas, they got to win 2 in a row. 2
Yeah,
games,
they got to beat Texas and then beat Georgia.
Yeah.
Because Georgia had a 33% chance of making the SEC championship game, but Ole Miss lost, Texas A&M lost, and Alabama lost, so Georgia's in the thing.
Yeah. Kansas knocked off Colorado 37-21. Kansas had a pretty good run past 2 weeks.
Colorado was up early on them, and Kansas just started running the football, and Colorado could not stop them. Travis Hunter had a nice day, a couple of touchdowns. Shula Sanders had a good day, but defense let him down. I thought Coach Prime had a good post-game press conference. They let a screen pass go the distance on him. He says that when he saw that, he knew that their defense wasn't ready to play. They were, as he said, like, we're about to be into something stupid today. So they didn't play well. Everything was in front of them. They controlled their own destiny. They couldn't get it done.
And just looking ahead. Just got everything in front of them, looking ahead, and not ready for the moment. Clemson knocked off the Citadel 51-14. Oh, well, I'm going to go back to the Colorado thing. Nobody thought Colorado would be this close, have a chance to make the playoffs the way things looked last season.
Mm-hmm. So, they're a 3-loss team now. They've got to win out. They can still go to the conference championship game, but I think playoff-wise...
They got to have help.
They need a lot of help.
Yeah.
But as we saw yesterday, man...
Anything is possible.
There are teams wanting to help other ones out,
Yeah. Clemson knocked off the Citadel 51-14. Didn't see.
Yeah, they're a 2-loss team. They need some help.
Yeah.
They need Miami to lose to get into the conference championship game, and they need to win that conference championship game against a ranked SMU to have any hope in getting in.
Yeah. Speaking of teams that need a little bit of help, South Carolina knocked off Wofford 56-12.
One of the hottest teams in all of college football. They dropped a couple of nail biters, some really close games that you and I both think they should have won both of those games, and they would have been right in. They would have been a top 5 team with that defense, but they did drop them. But they're going to play Clemson next week, and I honestly believe South Carolina is going to win this game. Yeah. I think South Carolina's just got it this year.
You were saying
South Carolina, in my opinion, is the 2007 Georgia. Yeah. They were they didn't know their identity early in the season. They dropped a couple games. But they went on a run, and by the end of the season, they were the best team in all of college football. Nobody wanted to play them.
Settlers is legit.
Yeah, but because of what happened in the beginning of the year, they couldn't make the playoffs or national championship game. But these guys are one of the hottest teams in all of college football. Sellers is great. The defense is amazing. Rocket Sanders is awesome.
This South Carolina Clemson game next week could possibly winner could make some way, somehow sneak into this playoff if everything works out.
This is a rivalry game that's really good, and it gets forgotten a lot on rivalry weekend with a lot of Michigan, Ohio State, you got Alabama, Auburn, the Iron Bowl. You got all these rivalry games. Clemson, South Carolina is right up there, in my opinion. We'll talk about the upcoming schedule in a minute, so I'm interested to see what time of the day that's on.
That's right. Iowa State beat Utah 31-28. Iowa State's hanging in there.
They're hanging around. Utah's very disappointing season. They were predicted to be the Big 12 champions, and they've just had a really, really disappointing season. Cam Rising, we thought he was going to be back for his 14th year of college football.
Played a few
weeks. They were going to be good, but he was hurt, so he's gone. He's got another year of eligibility. I highly doubt he uses it. I think that guy just had too many injuries. Yeah. But disappointing. Iowa State, though, solid football team.
Yeah, hey, still alive. Missouri knocked off Mississippi State 39-20. What can you say?
Missouri's just playing for
pride,
each other in pride. Yeah, they're not really going to do anything. They needed a lot of help. They lost. What was it, last week before. Pretty much knocked them out.
That's right. Lost to South Carolina of the week. It's just kind of unraveling it late in the season. Illinois knocked off Rutgers 38-31. Illinois still having a good season here.
Yeah, Altmaier looked good yesterday. Illinois is having a solid year. Brett Bielema has definitely got that
Florida
team.
State won. Hey.
Oh, they were playing Charleston Southern. So, congratulations, Florida State, on your second win of the season. That's all you're probably going to get.
Michigan knocked off Northwestern.
Yeah, it's sad, that Michigan's kind of we're talking about Michigan like as an afterthought. Nebraska beat Wisconsin. Wisconsin looks awful. Nebraska doesn't look good either. Raiola had a good game. It was about time he started playing better. Rumors are swirling. He's not happy in Lincoln.
Well, nobody likes losing.
No, and that was one of them, the On3 websites. Rumors earlier in the week.
So we'll see what happens to them. Well, let's move to next week's game. We are rivalry weekend, and there's a lot of good games on the schedule. What do we got here?
Lots of games on
Friday night. Oregon State at Boise State.
Oklahoma State at Colorado. That's not going to be a gimme. I still expect Colorado to win the game, but that's not going to be an easy game.
Yeah, they need to win that
Those
game.
are 2 noon kickoffs. You got Minnesota at Wisconsin at noon. Oh, the Egg Bowl right there, 3:30. Mississippi State, Ole Miss on Friday, Black Friday. That'd be a great game to watch. It's basically playing for the rivalry for each other and for the hatred of the other team because the season is basically over for both of them.
That's right. Georgia Tech. Apparently there's a ticket low right now, $4,352. I don't really believe that.
Is that like a typo?
I think so, but yeah, if you got 4,352,
that's got to be a typo.
Because
if they're paying that kind of prices, we're not going to the game. I'm selling them tickets.
That's right.
7:30 kickoff. Georgia has to win this game. They're in the SEC championship game now. A lot of people in the media were saying they could lose that game against Texas or A&M and still get in. The committee's been kind of saying, like, we're going to value making the SEC championship, the conference championship game, not just SEC, but we're going to value making that game. So losing it, you won't be penalized. I still think they get in as an 11 or 12 seed if they lose.
They'll be a 10-win team, assuming they take all.
Yes, but they've got to beat Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is treating this game like it's their Super Bowl. So this might be a really tough battle for Georgia. They've got too much talent to really let Georgia Tech hang around. If they can kind of stop them early and score some points and get out to a lead early, I think, because Georgia Tech's not really built to score quickly. They're going to run the football methodically, move the ball down the field, take a lot of time off the clock. Yeah. And if you can stop them a few times and get up on them, I think this game will be over early.
I agree.
But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah. Nebraska at Iowa, 7:30 kick. Florida State. Still
to be determined on Saturday. That'll be a game to watch just because of the rivalry. You got Michigan, Ohio State. I expect Ohio State to make up for 3 years of disappointment and sadness by beating Michigan.
You can run it up.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know what the score is going to be. I'm not going to predict because Michigan's not going to. This is their Super Bowl. Their season has sucked all year. They're not going to lay down. I just wonder what the score is going to be.
Texas at Vanderbilt. Tennessee needs to watch out.
Tennessee at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's really good this year. They're bowl eligible. They were bowl eligible a couple weeks ago. They lost yesterday to LSU. They still have the ability to make Tennessee have some problems. Tennessee needs a win. They got 2 losses. They get 1 more, they're out.
Yep. So 10-2 season still alive for Tennessee.
So 12 o'clock, South Carolina Clemson. That's kind of disappointing. 12 o'clock. Well, I'll watch it, but kind of sucks. It's noon.
Yeah. You got.
I can't stand noon games.
I hate them too.
Put that thing at 7:30 at night on Saturday. So you got
Notre Dame, USC.
Notre Dame at USC. That's a rivalry game. That's at 3:30. Maryland at Penn State 3:30. Auburn at Alabama 3:30. Miami at Syracuse 3:30. So Miami's got to win that game and they're in.
Yeah. Arizona at Arizona State.
That'd be a good game.
Arizona State at Arizona. Arkansas at Missouri. Let's see what else we got here.
Man, no, so far. So you got Oklahoma at LSU at 7 o'clock at night. Washington, Oregon, 7:30. Texas A&M. Texas versus Texas A&M at 7:30. That's the marquee game of the week.
They haven't played each other in, 15 years or something?
I think it's 11.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I thought it was 11.
2011 was the last time they played.
Yeah. So you might be right.
Yeah. So it's been a long time. So ever since A&M's been SEC.
And this is a game. This is basically a play-in game.
Yeah.
The winner goes to the SEC championship game. I think Texas with a loss still gets in the playoffs at 2 losses, but it will still look better.
A&M has to win out. They have to win the next 2 games.
But wouldn't it be something, though? Everyone just expects Texas to win this game and go to the SEC championship game. They were one of the media darlings all year long. They were one of the best teams in the country, deservedly so. A&M, with all the money they spent in NIL, and it didn't work out, they've never been in the SEC championship game since they've been in the conference. Yeah. Wouldn't it be something if they won and got in?
Yeah, this is probably the best they've played since Manziel was there.
Yeah. And even with Johnny Manziel, they had a tendency to drop a game they shouldn't have dropped and go play in a game like the Peach Bowl against Duke.
Yeah. What else we got? BYU versus Houston at 10:15. the last few weeks, they just let their season go away.
Yeah,
They had a chance to be in the playoff.
It's hard to go undefeated. It really is. I mean, you've got to bring your A game every week. And sometimes you don't have it. You play your B game and your C game. And the key is if you can still win those games.
Yeah.
We've seen all these teams in the top not play their A game at times, but still find a way to win. Yeah. Texas has done it a couple of times. Georgia's done it like 4 or 5 times this season.
But the difference between Texas and Georgia is they have the raw talent to overcome it.
Yes.
BYU, if they're not on their game, they're not winning that game more than
exactly. And there we just discussed you can bring your C and B game and still win because you out talent people.
Yep.
You know, you start doing that against talented teams like Texas A&M. You know, you play your B game, you maybe turn it over a time or two, and you're gonna lose.
Yep. That's it. This is the last week of the season.
Last week of the season. The season's gone by so damn fast.
Yeah, but it's
and really, like when you think about it, the first week, like I went to the very first game of the season, Clemson, Georgia, at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, and it does feel like a long ass time ago. You know, it's freezing cold now. It was like 98 degrees that day. It does seem like a long time ago, but when you start thinking about the last week of the season, to me, the season's kind of flown by. Yeah. It's been enjoyable.
But there's no, to me, Oregon's number one, but there's no real team that's really set themselves.
Yeah, there's I think in this 12-team playoffs, I think there's a good 7 to 8 teams that can probably win it if things kind of fall right. But it's been a fun season. I've had more fun watching other teams than watching my team. And usually it's fun watching the team you pull for, but all the chaos. It's been a lot of fun watching that. I mean, it's been fun watching, you get the little alert on your phone, like, upset alert, and it's like, late in the third quarter, and there's like a top 10 team down. You flip over to that game, a lot of that this year. But it's been a fun one. Yeah. I'm sad to see it go, but we kind of, you're looking at it what? So you got last week of the season, conference championship week, and then 3 more rounds of playoff, basically 4, right? Yeah. So, I mean, you got six more games left to go. So, I mean, but still over another month.
And you got Army-Navy, who's got a standalone weekend.
Yes.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
You guys have a great week, and we'll be back here next Sunday.
See ya.